If Hormuz is not immediately opened, the U.S. will obliterate their electric plants, oil wells, and Karg Island. Joining us now is geopolitical strategist Darren Gobb. He's a retired lieutenant colonel who served in the U.S. Army as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot and battalion commander. Colonel, good afternoon. What is the impact? What would be the impact on Iran if the U.S., to use Trump's words, obliterated Karg Island?
Well, clearly it would impact 90% of their ability to get oil off of Karg Island and out of Iran, and the financial capability of Iran to keep going, I guess. And that's the challenge is, if you obliterate Karg Island, in essence, you're also attacking the people of Iran and their potential future economically, because that's how Iran stays afloat. And it would take years to replace it. And so that's the risk is, have you moved by doing this, if you do it, or have you moved from attacking the Iranian security apparatus and attacking those things that the Iranian people would need if a regime change were successful and more cooperative government were put in place and they needed to rebuild an economy? So I definitely would not be in a hurry to destroy Karg Island and all its infrastructure. I think there are other ways to stop the movement of oil off of that island to the rest of the world. And you can exercise those first before you destroy something that would take years to replace.
But we have to keep in mind right now, this is potentially part of a negotiation tactic. I mean, it's a threat right now. President Trump hasn't taken any action, but he's also considering the option of seizing Iran's Karg Island. If he decides to do that, do you think that would be a better option?
Well, it could be a better option. It would depend on the actual threat that's left on the island now. I know we struck multiple military targets and we're very successful in doing so. The question is Iran trying to sneak something out there that would basically make it back into a fortress. My reports right now are saying they're really not able or capable of doing that. And so this is part of that negotiating tactic also is why the Marines have moved in my opinion, as well as mobilizing the 82nd Airborne Division's single brigade to go in that region to provide the flexibility and options that are most certainly on the table within the Pentagon. Whether they're ever used or not is to be determined. But on the surface, simply seizing and controlling Karg Island would be a whole lot more effective in the long term than destroying it.
Okay, so let me ask you, does that necessarily involve then, does that necessarily mean U.S. troops on Karg Island if President Trump goes ahead with wanting to seize it?
Well, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, you don't want to see American boots on ground in any of this conflict, but you also don't want to automatically rule out options that may be necessary to achieve ultimate and lasting peace through a victory here in this conflict now, because we've invested so much to get this far in destroying their security apparatus in general. If you could move 82nd Airborne and Marines, or maybe both, onto that island and have it be an extraordinarily low-risk mission, then I suspect that would certainly be considered over destroying every single thing on the island and the infrastructure that goes with it.
Okay, Colonel, I brought a clip here with me. Here's President Trump talking about a regime change of Iran.
But we've had regime change. You look already, because the one regime was decimated, destroyed. They're all dead. The next regime is mostly dead. And the third regime, we're dealing with different people than anybody's dealt with before. It's a whole different group of people. So I would consider that regime change.
So President Trump says the Iranian regime has changed. Your reaction?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's clearly changed just as far as who the people are that are in charge. And we don't necessarily know who we're talking, or the general public doesn't know who is getting talked to right now about what could be the future of Iran. And so regime change, sir, it has happened a couple times. The question is, has there been an ideological change along with the removal of those people into something that would be more friendly towards the Middle East, Central Asia, and to the world in general? That is certainly yet to be determined, and that's more of a State Department function than it is a Department of War function. And I think the rest of the public at some point in the future will probably hear about who we've been talking to. But for right now, we can't really share it because in essence, you put their lives at risk by sharing that information in the first place.
Okay, speaking of who the U.S. is talking to, in a press briefing, the spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry continues to deny negotiations with the U.S. And, Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that fractures have formed in the country's leadership. Why does Iran continue to deny talks are happening?
Because their audience is internal. It's not the message to the rest of the world. Who they're trying to talk to is the IRGC, what's left of the Quds Force, and the Iranian people, especially those who are ideologically aligned with them, and making sure that they're never seen as negotiating with or even bending at all to Israel and the United States in general. They just simply can't do that. So I would look at that as a message to their own population, not a message to us.
Okay, Colonel, one last thing I'd like to have your comments on. It looks like the Houthis have appeared to enter the conflict directly, and this proxy group launched missiles at Israel. Is that significant in your view or not?
It's significant in that it took this long for them to do so. That's the only surprise I would have. Israel is perfectly capable of handling what the Houthis have left when it comes to interdicting drones or missiles, regardless of size. The Houthis are not going to be able to launch something at Israel that is of significant quantity, and that would change the equation. Where I get more concerned is if they actually start being able to affect traffic up through the Suez Canal again, and the economic impacts to the region and the general security impacts of energy and access globally. But other nations will take note of that, specifically Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and that may actually bring them on board in a more aggressive fashion, working against the Houthis themselves if that happens again. I don't know, but it's certainly a possibility.
Well, Colonel, it's good to hear that you're saying Israel can handle themselves, because it's tackling the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Iran all at the same time. But it's good to hear your analysis today, Colonel. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don. Have a good day.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us. You don't want to miss